we discussed this also, is zero collusion, and it has had a negative impact upon the relationship of the two largest nuclear powers in the world. We have 90% of nuclear power between the two countries. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's going on with the probe.
Okay, so what does this all mean now for the Mueller probe going forward? The president saying that he takes Vladimir Putin essentially at face value, that they were not involved in this. Vladimir Putin inviting folks to go, talk to those who've been fingered, those investigators that want to come and maybe talk to Russian entities to get to the bottom of it themselves. To criminal defense attorney Caroline Polisi. Caroline, where is this going, and how does this joint presser signal where we go from here?
Well, Neil, I think this was an unmitigated disaster. I think we can all agree that this was not a good day in American history. We have some cognitive dissonance going on in the American public's mind right now because, on the one hand, we obviously have Robert Mueller and his team coming out with this forceful indictment of 12 GRU affiliates at the behest of Putin to meddle in the 2016 election.
And by the way, specific names and entities and positions within the GRU. I mean, these weren't made-up entities. And it
was a forensic analysis at a granular level of exactly how they did this. Nobody's questioning the veracity of what's in that indictment. I would recommend that everybody read that indictment because it reads like a crime novel. It is a speaking indictment, and it lays out in perfect order just how they did it. And then on the other hand, you have President Trump standing right next to Vladimir Putin being played like a fiddle on the national stage, and it's reprehensible. He's conflating, in an effort not to answer these questions about the meddling, he's conflating collusion with the meddling. Now, we're not even getting to the question of collusion, but President Trump is just dodging any question he can about the underlying meddling. And it's pathetic, really, and it's a disgrace.
Well, I've had people come on this show. What I do find interesting, Caroline, is that a number of conservatives, otherwise big supporters of the president's tax cuts, regulatory relief, what he's done for the markets, et cetera, saying, we don't like what we saw today. What I have to wonder is one of them who said something to the effect, well, you don't know what was said behind, closed doors. Well, that's fine. But what was said for the world to see, which carries, I think, equal or greater weight, was an embarrassment.
I agree. And, Neil, I shudder to think what was said behind closed doors if this is what we got in the public sphere.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, to your point about what this is going to do for the Mueller investigation going forward, this is going to have no impact on Mueller and his team. He is keeping his nose to the grindstone, moving forward with, I think we just saw part two of what's going to be a three-part act, really. First we have the social media campaign on the part of Russians to infiltrate and manipulate the social media surrounding the election. Now we've heard about the stealth infiltration and stealing of information from the DNC, DCCC, Hillary Clinton's campaign, and the timely dissemination of that material to impact the 2016 election. Now, Neil, just as you said, nobody's alleging that this had any impact on the election itself, but the fact that Donald Trump can't even acknowledge that fact, it's incredibly troubling, really.
Carol, I'm wondering if you're Bob Mueller and you're seeing what the president said today and how he acted and comported himself today in the face of all of this. You're too young to remember the Columbo TV series of Peter Falk, but I'm scratching my head and beginning to wonder, boy, that's an odd reaction to all of this. And I'm beginning to wonder why, Mr. President, you reacted this way. And it could make me a little bit quizzical. What about you?
I agree. It looks like we may be witnessing collusion before our very eyes in plain sight. This is what a Russian operative would. This is the reaction of a Russian operative. I mean, I hate to say it. I'm not being dramatic, but to your point about
you do worry. You worry.
You do worry. You worry.
Yeah.
And Mueller wasn't really expecting. Just to be clear, Mueller wasn't expecting Putin to extradite these 12 Russian nationals. Absolutely not. This was a name and shame tactic on the part of Mueller and his team, just to go out there strongly, say, look, we know what you did, we know how you did it, and we're going to get you. There was never any, let's just be clear about it. These guys aren't going to be tried on American soil. And in fact, the president, when he was interviewed this weekend, said the thought hadn't even really occurred to him to demand Putin to extradite these defendants. But the proposition that Putin gave under the MLAT treaty, the Mutual Litigation Assistance Treaty between nations, I mean, that is preposterous. It's a ridiculous, laughable laughable proposition that Robert Mueller and his team would come over to Russia to do his own investigation, while at the same time, Putin would send over people to investigate Bill Browder on this soil. I mean, it was
forget it.
It was just laughable, absolutely laughable.
I'm no criminal defense attorney. I've never taken a law class, so I'm not a fraction in your league on this subject. But that is just Alice in Wonderland.
It's a joke, an absolute joke.
All
Neil.
right, Caroline, always good having you. Thank
Thanks,
you
Neil.
very, very much for speaking your mind on this.